Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great day. Thanks for tuning in. This is Weekly Recap, where I go over my numbers as an owner-operator, leased to an 80-20 split carrier. I also have a second channel. If you don't know, check that out. Link in the description. Lots of fun stuff going on in the description. I recommend everybody check that out. If you like this kind of content, think about subscribing to the channel. This is Trucking and Business. This is basically what we talk all day right here. So let me give you the rundown on a weekly recap and what we do here. Number one, I'm leased to an 80-20 split carrier. It works for me. That's why I do it. I pull a reefer trailer. I live in Minnesota. I typically go Minnesota out and back, take a little time off, grab another load out and back. It's kind of how I built my business. I bought this current truck I have. It is a 2016 Cascadia, somewhat fuel efficient operation I'm running here. I bought this in early 2020, in February of 2020. I paid $38,000 for this truck with low 400,000 miles on it. You know, same truck now costs you $125,000. I mean, it's crazy what equipment has done, but that's where I'm at. I've paid this truck off since then. You know, so when I get down to the end of my variable cost, I go over, I'll say, this is what what I have left to do, what I have to do with. That means plug in a truck payment if you're going to have a truck payment, plug in some insurance cost and whatnot, but that's kind of how I run it. I'm trying to think of what else. I don't talk about the carrier I'm leased to. It's no advantage to me. You know, find yourself a good 80-20, 85-15, 90-10, whatever works for you. Find it and do your own research, you know, because I don't want to recommend a carrier to somebody that not work and then them be all butthurt at me over it. It's just not what I want to do. So, you know, do your research, find a carrier that works for you, that does the right things that you want them to do, would be my recommendation. And with that being said, hopefully I didn't forget anything. Let's get into some numbers. Also, part of Weekly Recap, I like to talk about the loads I took, why I took them. Now, I can dispatch myself, but I've been an owner-operator / carrier since 2008. I know the advantages of having someone good to dispatch me. That way I don't have to sit there and look at the load boards all day. And, you know, so I don't remember the last time I booked a load. It's probably been over a year ago. It's just smarter to let them do it. They know the lanes better. They know the rates better. And, you know, they get a little piece of their money from the 20% of the carrier, incentivizes them to book good freight with a little piece of that 20% on top of the salary. So the way that works is, I know they're not trying to book cheap freight just to, you know, make me mad or something. It makes no sense. So I trust them. When I get a rate con, I trust it has not been doctored. It's just, you know, if you're at a carrier and you feel that the carrier is doctoring rate cons and you don't trust them on that level, I suggest you find a new carrier, because if you can't trust them, don't do business with them. So let's get to these numbers. Let's get to these loads. First load went from Minnesota down to Memphis. One pick, 2 drops in Memphis. 33 degrees, 28,000 pounds. I had 52 empty miles on that load, 858 loaded miles. Excuse me, total 910 miles. That load paid $4,000. Come on. Yeah, come on. It was a very tight scheduled run. I don't know, I did a video about this run specifically, so about how tight it was. I know a lot of people watch that video and they're like, there's no way you could do that. But see, what most people are factoring in is, when I started the 25 hours to do 858 miles, I started with a fresh clock. So, you know, when you start with a fresh clock, you can tight space some stuff, you know. So I didn't have to have 2 10-hour breaks in there, you know. So that's how that works. But anyway, moving on. I just want to explain that. Next load, typically from Memphis, I would come back to Minnesota. But this was like before Christmas. This is like the week before Christmas or leading into Christmas. Sorry, I took my old calendar down. I already got a new one up there. So I was trying to look and see what day, what this was. I think this was like, I want to say this was like Wednesday to Wednesday. Like, and then after this last load would have been Christmas on the Saturday. So this is like the week before Christmas, this load. But so instead of coming back to Minnesota and then going out again, I wouldn't have had time to go out and be back before Christmas, in my opinion, and a lot of things, so I said, hey, what about something in between, like a little short load? They had the perfect idea about it. So what we did is we went from Memphis. I ran down to Tupelo, grabbed a load from Tupelo to San Antonio, and that load was 40,000 pounds, 26 degrees, 938 miles, total miles on that for $2,050. Not a great paying load, but typical mid-run load. It seems to me the worst paying loads are the biggest pain in the butts. It took forever to get this loaded, and then by the time they got it loaded, I was on another Smokey and a Bandit situation. The load down from Minnesota to Memphis was Smokey and a Bandit, and then we sat down there all day trying to get reloaded. Didn't get reloaded till the night, and then here we go again. I had like 25 hours to go 840 miles, so two high-speed, no-drag runs on this one this week. So we went from San Antonio right back to Minnesota. We already, as soon as they booked the load to San Antonio, we found a load out of San Antonio going back to Minnesota with 10 miles of deadhead. I mean, literally like in the same suburb of San Antonio. So you love it when they work out like that. That load was a 55-degree Protect from Freeze beverage load, 41,000 pounds. That was 1336 total on the miles on that one. 1336 total with 10 miles deadhead. You do the math. $4,000 on that one. So it made for a pretty good gross week, but I did do more miles than I typically like to do. I'm perfectly fine with $75,000, $8,000 gross and not having to work too hard. I mean, I'll be honest with you, that's a sweet spot to me. This week was a little bit more than I like to do, but it's like you gotta be willing to work hard, at all times. I don't prefer to do it every week. I'm not trying to run my truck like that every week, but it's basically come down to shippers taking forever to load trucks, and it just put me in a bind, and I had to run hard. But in all, I'm happy I done it because the numbers are really good. So now it's not like a spectacular week because because having to running so hard and that middle load not paying very good. I mean, let's face it, 938 all-in miles on 2050, like $2 a mile. That's not setting the world on fire. Luckily, it was a shorter run. It did take me to something that paid a little better. That other run was probably more like $3 a mile. So, you win some, you lose some, and that's trucking. I will say this. This was a really good gross amount for the week. $10,050 is a really good gross amount for a week, especially when you finish your week in a good market. So I finished my week in Minnesota, see, and that's the key. Not only did I make $10,050, but I ended the week in a good market. That helps a little bit. I'm still not happy about running almost 3,200 miles in a week. Call me spoiled, call me whatever, just don't call me late for dinner. But it's like, I can do 3,200 miles a week. It ain't gonna kill me, you know what I mean? But to me, it's working harder than I want to, honestly. I'm not knocking the week. I'm just saying I feel like it could have been a little better, But I try to keep in mind that I worked hard for 7 days in a row. And when I say I worked hard, I drove 3,200 miles. The most important thing is I dealt with a lot of crap. That first load, 10 hours to load that. And then I went to a Kroger, and then I went to a U.S. Foods. I mean, that whole load was just one big ball of BS. And that is one of my goals this year, is to get more detention pay from these people. I'm tracking it better. I'm calling it in better. You know what I mean? Like, I'm putting times on bills. I'm calling at the 2-hour mark. Like, this is going to be the year of detention. With freight paying the way it is, if you want me to sit, we're going to have to pay for it, or I'm out of there. It's just the way it's going to be. I'm not setting like I did last year. And these two loads here, that first load from Minnesota and that second load from Tupelo, both like 9-hour waits on getting loaded. It's unacceptable. At that point, to feel like I've been properly compensated at that point at 9 to 10 hours, and for me to still make deliveries on time, which I did on both of those, you need to pay me about $500 the way I look at it, because I'm having to drive harder. I'm not being able to take the breaks I want to take. You know what I mean? Like, you're forcing me to work harder by not doing their part, you know? So anyway, let's go over the numbers for the week. Now that I got my little rant out of the way. I like to say stuff like that on video, because I go back and watch these videos, and that makes me, you know, like re-trigger it in my head on how I felt those days, you know, when I was sitting there for 9 hours. You know, they put one pallet on the truck and then basically hold you hostage, you know, stuff. Oh, it makes me so mad. But anyway, let's go over numbers. $10,050 gross money. Been a while since I had a $10,000 week. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, it's there. It's not like I couldn't do it consistently. It's just the fact of, like, you know, even before freight got to paying really good, I was kind of of the mindset, like, you know, you don't burn yourself out, because then a year or two into this, you know, and being an owner operator or a carrier, man, it's a long-term game, you know. It is. So for me to, you know, like, want to run that 3,000 miles to get that $10,000, you know, like, I'm not as crazy about it, I'll be honest with you. And there's a lot of places I could go that I could get the 10,000 without having to run 3,000 miles. But then again, I don't want to go there. You know what I mean? Like, I've been doing this since 2008. I kind of know where I want to be and where I don't want to be. You know, like, I mean, I can head over to the Pacific Northwest, and, you know, I mean, I was looking at some freight out of there earlier this week that was like $13,000 to go to, you know, Pennsylvania or to New Jersey. And I'm like, kudos to the guys that are getting it, because it's not my run. It's not what I want to do. You know, it's, you know, I know for me to want to do this and to want to keep being an owner operator and not get burnt out, there's certain things I will and I won't do. You know, I got meatloaf strategy. You know, I'll do anything, but I won't do that. You know what I mean? My meatloaf business strategy. All right, so anyway, back to the numbers. Boy, a lot of ranting and raving on this one, right? If you like the ranting and raving, give me a thumbs up. And if you don't like it, give me a thumbs out. 3,184 all miles, 148 empty miles, 3,036 loaded miles, 4.6% deadhead. That's good. That's good. 330 all miles, 264 a mile is my 80%. So my 80% all miles, paid 264 a mile. I gotta be honest with you. When I built this business, based on the 100% not even being that high. That's like 250 a mile, you know, and then I would make about 2. So when I make 264, man, that 64 cents, that's all gravy. That's all gravy up there. You know what I mean? So if I owe you money, better believe your money's coming soon. So let's go over the expenses of the week. $14.99 on diesel, and this isn't what I use, this is what I bought, keep in mind. So boy, winter fuel has really hurt me. Really hurt me. The other day I was in Snorlord's live feed. I don't know if you know Snorlord, check him out, but I was in Snorlord's live feed, and I said, I only haul freight that goes in the same direction as the wind. Was that an untrue statement? All day today into a 22-mile-an-hour wind. And I looked out at the extended forecast when I turn and go back north. The wind's going to be out of the north. Fuel's been rough this winter with winter fuel and just things like that. You know, the wind, idling. You know, I always forget how much more idling I do in the winter. You know, as far as like warming up the truck in the morning. You know, I know they say with these newer trucks, you know, the warming them up's not as big of a deal with the lighter weight oil, but I don't know. I just feel better when the oil temps up to a certain level, you know. A little bit of diesel is one thing. An engine that's not properly lubed is a whole nother thing. So, $14.99 on diesel, $48 on reefer. You know, a 33-degree load, a 26-degree load, and then a protect from freeze load. Very little reefer. Both of those first two were start and stop. I love me some start and stop this time of year, you know, when like right now I'm hauling a load that's 36 degrees and it's currently 41 degrees outside right now. That thing might kick on once or twice tonight. Love that. DEF, $44 on DEF. Man, you talking about inflation hitting a commodity. That DEF is, every time I buy DEF, it's like it's went up $1 a gallon. Most of the major chains are what, like $3.70, $3.80 a gallon right now on DEF. I mean, this time last year it was like $2.60, $2.70, something maybe like that. I scaled all 3 loads. All 3 loads were, you know, kind of heavy, I guess. The first one at 28,000 pounds. That facility is known to load you weird. They produce multiple products there, and you might have light stuff, heavy stuff, light stuff. You might have all the heavy up here, and you never know how they've loaded it. So, if it even kind of looks weird on my truck scale, on my dash, I weigh it. And for me, that scale on my drives, I've got a scale on my dash that's, you know, for my drives. That to me is to save on reweighs. You know, so basically I use that to set my trailer where I think it should be, and then I go hit a cat scale with it. And 95% of the time, I'm right on with it. But the $12 is cheap to me for a scale, so I hit them anyway. We paid $20 in tolls on that week. So I think that was on the way back up going through Kansas. Probably paid those. I can't remember right offhand. So $10,050 total gross. My 80% is $8,400. We bring the $8,400 over. Subtract the $1,647 in variable cost, and that leaves me $6,753 to do what I have to do with. $6,753. That's a pretty damn good week for a guy that's got a GED. You know, I try to keep this stuff in mind. You know, yeah, did I work hard for 7 days? Yeah, was I up all hours of the night? Was I doing this and doing that and pleading with people to put freight on the truck? Yeah. Was it a pain in the ass? You better believe it was. But then I think about people in a third world country and what they would do for $67.53. You think about what they would do for it. So I try to keep that in mind. You know, I'm very blessed to have the abilities, and you know, it's like I'm thankful that I had these opportunities, you know, to become a truck driver. I'm thankful that I stuck it out through the rough times. So if you guys out there at a company right now that ain't the greatest and you're just trying to get your experience in so you can move on to bigger and better things, just do what you got to do. You know, keep your record clean, and just, you know, if you got to knuckle under for a little while, get some experience, and then start climbing the ladder, because it's out here. It's out here. But that's it, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. If you made it this far, be sure to hit that like button for me. Leave me a comment. I love comments. I try to read them all. I don't get to reply to all of them because I'm getting to the point now to where I'm actually getting quite a few comments. But I do appreciate them. I do try to read them all. And thanks everybody for watching. Take care of each other out there.